What's up, guys? We're back with another episode of British Guy Reacts, the place where we give honest reactions, not overreactions. Today, we are looking at top 10 things only Americans do and think is normal. So I'm going to be here to judge whether I think it's normal or not, and see what kind of things you guys are getting up to. If you are enjoying these videos, please click the subscribe button down below. We're so close to 500 now, and it'd be great to hit it in the next week or so. Do me a favor, just click that button. Let's get straight into this video.
If you don't like America, why don't you get out?
Good old South Park.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 things Americans do that the rest of the world doesn't.
You're 15, right? Yeah, I gotta call your parents.
It's time. It's time.
Don't wait another minute for Claritin.
Do you do it every day?
Yeah.
For this list, we're going over the things that are more common in the United States of America than in most other countries. While some of them are present elsewhere, they're not quite as widespread as in the US. And no judgment. This is supposed to be a lighthearted list after all, so keep a sense of humor and know that
I'm going to be judging.
it's all in good fun. If there's a particular Americanism that our list didn't cover, please do tell us in the comments. Number 10. Refer to the USA as America. Outside of the United States of America, referring to the country as America is much less commonplace. After all, there are two entire continents called America, comprising like 35 distinct nations. Referring to only one country on one of those continents as America too is really confusing for anyone who doesn't live.
I disagree with this one straight away. Maybe it's an English thing, but I feel like most people here would say America rather than the USA or the US. Maybe some people would say the US, but I feel like a lot of people do say America here in
From
England.
this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first.
Calling it the US, USA, the United States, or just the States is much more common in the rest of the world. Even so, everyone
Disagree.
still calls its residents Americans, which isn't confusing at all.
You can't say it, but you know it's true.
Number 9. Have pharmacies that sell groceries.
That's weird.
In most of the world, pharmacies sell exactly what their name implies, pharmaceuticals. While you will see tangentially related items like grooming products or hygienic things like toothbrushes, pharmacies don't usually carry food or toys. But in the US, that's much more common. The country is all about the all-in-one experience. Not only will dedicated
Why, though?
grocery stores have pharmacies built in, but pharmacies will also carry groceries. Granted, the selection isn't always great, but if you're desperate for milk and the grocery store is closed or you just don't feel like crossing the street to get there, you can get some.
That
While
seems
most of the world
really
still
weird.
limits
I'm not gonna
drugstores
lie.
to drugs and self-care products, we have a feeling this one might catch on. Number 8. Vote
I don't see why you'd need that. There's so many little stores around. You don't need to go to a pharmacy. Pharmacies are making enough money without selling groceries.
before they can drink. Worldwide, the age at which a person can legally drink alcohol is most commonly 18. The age usually considered to be adulthood, though it is even earlier in some countries. The voting age on a global scale is also generally 18, for similar reasons, although of course there are exceptions.
The Voting Rights Act of 1970 lowered the voting age to 18 for national elections, and the 26th Amendment made the change to 18 permanent for all elections.
And 18 is where it has stayed for the past 50 years.
However, the United States requires young adults to wait 3 years after being able to vote before legally being allowed to drink at 21. This was enacted during the 1980s to prevent alcohol-related driving accidents.
This law has been an abysmal failure. It hasn't reduced or eliminated drinking. It has simply driven it underground, behind closed doors, into the most risky and
We always found this a bit weird about America. The fact you can't drink till you're 21, but you can like sign up to the army or you can vote, things like that. We can drink from 18. I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's probably not a great thing, but it does kind of make it, you get the partying out of your system a little bit earlier, I guess, than Americans.
least manageable of settings.
While it helped in the short term, ultimately it hasn't really stopped teenagers from drinking. The result is that many people, both inside and outside the U.S., question the logic of why an 18-year-old American can decide
doesn't
who
really make
forms
sense,
the
does it?
government but not get buzzed.
The reality is everyone drinks before they turn 21. That's why when you go out for your first legal drink, you have to react with that faux surprise like you've never heard of alcohol before. Ooh, what does this alcohol taste like? Oh, it's unusual. Oh, this is true.
Number 7. Tip service personnel.
All right, everybody cough up some green for the little lady.
We do tip, but we don't give as much as you guys.
Come on, throw in a buck.
I don't tip.
You don't tip?
No, I don't believe in it.
While the concept of tipping waitstaff or other people in the service industry is known worldwide, few countries have embraced the concept to the degree the U.S. has.
Labor movements declare the practice undemocratic, and anti-tipping legislation was enacted across several states. But restaurants and rail operators like the Pullman Company embraced tipping because it allowed them, among other things, to hire recently freed slaves without having to pay them.
Many workers, particularly in the restaurant industry, rely on gratuities to get by, in part because laws allow managers to pay sub-minimum wages to tipped workers. However, in various other countries, tipping is seen as insulting. They're just doing their jobs.
I was going to say this, the time I spent in Asia, I tried to tip a few people and they got insulted by it. Kind of like, you're trying to say that they need your money when they don't because they're getting paid a salary. Could be better than your salary. It's quite offensive to try and tip someone. Especially if it's like a... So I tried to do it in hairdressers. Because in England, if your haircut was, say, I don't know, £18, you just give £20 and keep the change, you know. Keep the £2. You don't do that in a lot of Asian countries. It's quite offensive.
After all,
each year, Americans spend $40 billion on tips. That's more than we spend on foreign aid and more than we spend on gambling. And like gambling, it's not entirely clear that tipping makes any sense in the first place.
While some countries' workers certainly appreciate it, it isn't expected like it is in the U.S. Mostly because employees are paid a high enough baseline salary that they don't need tips to survive.
Restaurant owners still pay their servers less than minimum wage, turning what used to be a bribe
So that 40
into an
billion
obligation
should be
that makes
coming
the end
from
of every meal suck.
The American military is probably the best in the world, as it should be, since it's also one of the best funded militaries in the world. In fact, the U.S. spends several times more on their military than their nearest competitor, China. What's more, there are more than a few American citizens who have a higher than average fascination with their own military and its culture.
I thank you as your commander-in-chief because you inspire me. Your willingness to serve, to step forward at a time of war and say, send me, is the reason the United States stays strong and free.
While other countries certainly appreciate their troops, you don't, say, see as many people wearing camouflage as a legitimate fashion statement. Likewise, you don't see movies made elsewhere that glorify the military to the degree that the U.S. does.
Do me a favor. Tell my children I love them very much.
I don't think this is a bad one, to be honest. Like, people in the military deserve respect. We appreciate our military in the UK. Probably we don't go as hard on it as you guys do, but I don't see any problem with that, in all honesty.
All right, you alien
Respect to those
assholes.
people.
In the words of my generation, up
Part of the American enthusiasm is certainly rooted in patriotism. Still, it may also be a reaction to an increasingly anti-military sentiment that has popped up over the last several decades.
No war, okay? No war, okay?
I love South.
Oh, well, here you go, boys. These will help you protest. It's good to see that you care about peace, boys, okay?
Number 5. Work too much.
I've seen this in a previous
Americans
video. You
are
guys do work too
workaholics,
much.
at least compared to basically every other country in the world. The majority of Americans work more than 40 hours a week.
Why do we do this to ourselves? Well, the conventional answer is that this attitude towards work makes the American economy the envy of the world. America is a hectic, turbocharged system that builds, destroys, rebuilds, all at warp speed.
They also tend to lack many of the things the rest of the world takes for granted, like paid holidays, as well as sick and parental leave. Research has shown that happier, less stressed workers do better at their jobs. Iceland even recently tried a 4-day work week that proved wildly successful.
They're trying that in some places in the UK now. I think in Scotland they're trying it, the 4-day work week. I mean, it makes those 4 days more stressful, but 3 days off is pretty nice.
There's lots of other benefits to a 4-day working week. It's not just the it's not just the mental health and economy, good for the economy. It's also environmental benefits too. Evidence looks like when we're commuting less as a result of a 4-day week, that brings down emissions. Also, energy consumption goes down. So this is a policy that's win-win for the environment, for workers, for employers. What's not to like about it?
Several European countries take long breaks for lunch. While the American drive is admirable, grind culture becomes problematic when it costs workers their mental health and well-being. Number 4, put sales tax on everything.
Sales tax is paid when you buy something,
This would annoy
and the
me.
business you purchased your goods from sends that money to the government. There are 2 types of sales tax: general sales tax
We're getting a
and
tax
excise
lesson.
taxes. General sales tax is a tax levied on most goods you buy. Excise taxes are taxes levied only on certain items.
Most countries enact a value-added tax, or VAT, on goods or services purchased within their borders. These taxes are collected from every person in the supply chain, from the distributors to the consumers. The United States is one of the few to use sales tax, which not only vary wildly from state to state, but are only enacted after a purchase has been made.
The state treasury depends on sales taxes to pay for road repairs, education, and medical care for children, seniors, and the poor.
They're also not listed in the initial price, which can leave foreign visitors and many Americans
Yeah, this would
scratching their head
frustrate
as
me.
to why they're being charged more than the price on the product. Better or worse? You decide. It's certainly
Worse, surely some places give you like a before tax, after tax price. Because what you meant to do would be stood in a shop working out how much tax you need to pay on top.
more confusing.
What's the
It's
advice
just
then? If you're going to buy
unnecessarily
a big
confusing.
ticket item, where's the cheapest sales tax?
Well, you can go online and look at all the sales tax rates for different cities, and if you look at one dealership or one, Best Buy or something like that, you can find the different zip codes and look at the sales tax rates and just see how much that'll little take off, and then take your family out for a nice night.
There you go.
Number 3, the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance.
I know this, some of this, and I swear it's just because of The Simpsons. Pledge allegiance to the Clan, the United States of America.
To the flag.
Oh, to the flag,
of the
opposed to
United
the Clan.
States of America.
Sorry,
Many
guys.
parts of the United States, school children, and adults in some settings, are expected to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. This is an expression that
Do you
they
do
will
that
be
every
loyal
day?
to the USA, and is usually performed daily while looking at the nation's flag.
But back then in
Kinda creepy,
1892, when it
I'm
was
not gonna
written
lie.
by Francis Bellamy, Bellamy was a Baptist minister, and in conjunction with a magazine called The Youth's Companion, he wrote this, at that time, 23-word Pledge of Allegiance.
Citizens of other countries might respect or salute their flag and country, but a daily affirmation? Not in most places.
Yeah,
The Pledge
no
of
chance.
Allegiance has been the subject of controversy and criticism, both from outside the U.S. and from within. Some see it as indoctrination. Others find its mentions of God problematic, and still others think it was simply written to sell merch. Whatever the case, it is not a common thing in the rest of the world.
But the bottom line is we all look different, sound different, but we are all on the same team.
Number 2, go bankrupt from healthcare. Medical costs are the cause of over 60% of all bankruptcies in the United States.
In 2017, 1/3 of the money raised on GoFundMe went towards medical campaigns. And the site raises $650 million a year for more than 250,000 medical campaigns.
Americans experience a variety of unexpected charges while getting much-needed care, from surprise bills to being charged for riding in an ambulance.
According to one study, 71% of all ambulance providers do not take the patient's insurance. That same study found that 79% of patients who took an ambulance could get a surprise
that's so
bill, with an
bad.
average total around $450.
In some parts of the civilized world, even seeing a medical bill can be an uncommon occurrence. Healthcare worldwide tends to be much more regulated than it is in the US. It's either funded through taxes in a single-payer system or else through individual insurers who are more strict strictly monitored.
Other countries, they don't have this problem. Instead of every private insurance company negotiating with every healthcare provider, there's just this big list. Country, the central government, they go and they say, if you want to sell to us, to all of our people, then here's what you can charge for a checkup. Here's what you can charge for an MRI or a prescription for Lipitor.
Bottom line, while there can sometimes be extra charges, for most of the world, medical debt is basically unheard of, except in horror stories about the US.
Can't get a credit card. I can't buy a house. I don't see me ever being out of debt.
Before we get to our top pick, here are some honorable mentions. Free refills. Restaurants will fill up glasses with even more drinks for free and with lots of ice.
I'm all for the free refill.
Throw baby showers. Many cultures see them as bad luck or
No, this is the thing in the UK now. I guess we stole that from you guys. Baby showers, gender reveals.
Wear shoes indoors. Sure, not every American does this, but it's still considered weird in a lot of countries.
This is a definite no in Asia. Don't wear shoes indoors. Most people in England would ask you to take your shoes off unless you were having like a party. Most people have like wooden floors now, so it's quite easy to clean. If you're going to have a lot of people around, keep your shoes on. We'll clean the floor the next day. If you're just having a visit around, take your shoes off, make yourself comfortable, you know.
Advertise drugs to consumers. Pharmaceutical companies' clout allows this, annoying basically everyone but them.
These ads are legal in most countries, but in the US, they're everywhere. On average, 80 of them air every hour on American television.
Jesus.
Ask your doctor.
Ask your doctor.
My doctor told me. Use red plastic cups for alcohol. Who decided on these for every American party?
Here we go.
Again, I'm not against this. Better than the white cup. We just use plain white ones.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Watch Mojo, calm down.
Number 1. Use the Imperial Measurement System.
Can you explain to me how the country that can send men and hopefully women to the moon
and beyond.
still are in gallons and inches? And when the entire world is metric, I do not understand this.
There are 3 countries in the world that don't use the metric system: Myanmar, Liberia, and the United States.
You gotta up your game, America. You can't be using gallons. Inches, okay. Most people know what an inch is. Gallons.
Objectively,
No
metric
idea
is
how
the
much
less
gallons.
arbitrary measurement system, since
We still
everything
use
goes by
pints, though.
tens. Even Britain and Commonwealth countries have converted.
The point is, the US system
mean
has always
even
been
Britain?
a little more accessible than metric. Sure, stacking up 12 thumb widths to make a foot, that's still kind of weird, but it's not so weird that we're clamoring to change it.
Although admittedly, they do still use measurements like feet and inches casually.
So now I can't ask a distance when I visit another country. I'm like, how far is that? They're like, that's 500 kilometers. I'm not in the Olympics.
So why hasn't the US converted? We'll give you one guess. Did you say it's because of money? Because money is definitely a big factor. Converting to a whole new system of measurement is expensive. Other factors include a need for control and stability of the US. So, inertia,
You
basically.
guys are stubborn.
Why change when you don't need to? And you know what your mom says. If all the other countries jumped off a bridge, would the US do it too? Or something like that.
A 2015 Rasmussen poll asked Americans if we should switch to the metric system and adopt Celsius as our main temperature scale. 64% said no, while 21% said yes, and the remaining 15% was undecided. So it looks like we're
50% don't
perfectly
care.
fine with being different.
If you guys don't want
read
to
our
change it,
picks?
leave
Check
it as
out
it
this
is. Some of these were weird, some of them weren't that weird, to be honest. The healthcare's bad, the tipping, I've seen before. They should be paying the people properly, you know what I mean. Calling it America, I think that's normal. I think most people do call it America in Europe. Yeah, you don't do that much stuff that's not normal. Let me know. I'm seeing top 10 American foods that are banned in other countries. That one's piqued me interest. I'm not going to lie, we might have to check out that one soon. Let me know down in the comments if there's anything else you do want me to watch. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I'll see you for the next one. Take it easy. Peace.